Hey, I'm Sarah Tegender, international speaker and trainer for a $40 million division in healthcare. With over a decade of experience working with healthcare providers, I believe that a healthcare practice should do more than just pay back student loans. Each week, I'll bring you the tips, tricks, and experts you need to build your practice both on and offline. Smart people take notes, so grab a pen or open up the Notes app on your phone as we dive into the Health of Your Business podcast. Even busy practitioners like you are allowed to have side hustles, I promise. But a lot of us are here because we're podcast listeners and we're business owners and we're entrepreneurs, and we want to try to take our side hustles and make them actual businesses, make them profitable, kind of dabble in something else. I know I've done it. And if you know me, you also know that I have an Instagram handle, Power by Plants. So when I had the opportunity to interview a busy pharmacist who has a food blog all about tofu called All Day I Eat Like a Shark, you know I took the opportunity. But don't let Pat fool you. He's just not full of cute marketing names. He has some really great productivity tips in this podcast episode. Pat Tokuyama, I am thrilled to talk to you because I love tofu. Can I just start with that?
Sure.
I think our love of tofu. And when I first met you and we were talking a little bit about what you're doing right now on the web, I was like, that's interesting. And my wheels were turning about how we could, possibly do something together, even though I'm out of the food space. I don't spend as much time there. And, I have my girlfriends that I'm helping build their health practices. And you dropped a bomb on me and you said, I'm also a pharmacist. It was like, so as a provider yourself, why start an online business? I mean, you're probably, people are so proud of you, right? You went to school, you have an awesome job, you have a great life. I know you work from home. Why do something else on the side?
There's many reasons, but I would say some of the main reasons would be I just love food. I love eating, I love cooking, and I love sharing that love with other people who also like the same thing, or maybe if they don't like it yet, maybe they'll begin to like it after they see some of the work that I put out there. So for that reason, helping to share some of my culture. So I'm Japanese by descent, so I like to share that aspect as well with other people. And also just to help people, cook healthier at home and live longer lives.
Don't we need more people doing that? I mean, you are one of the most generous online entrepreneurs that I've seen. I hope you know that your time and dedication that you put into your work just shows your generosity and true love for what you do.
Thank you so much. That's very nice of you to say.
And I do have one silly question, and I don't know if you get asked this, but I know that your, Instagram and it's your website, All Day I Eat Like a Shark, right?
Right.
And sharks don't eat tofu. Sharks, I'm pretty sure, eat other fish. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the backstory is, so I'm a surfer. I love surfing, and one of my greatest fears is obviously getting attacked by a shark. So I thought I would play on that fear and create a little character to not be so fearful of it anymore. And you're right, sharks don't really eat tofu, but if you see the little animation in some of my videos, he takes a nice chunk out of a tofu block. So
so cute.
Yep.
I need more surfing pictures. I need more behind the scenes of this. I haven't seen this, but do you get asked a lot if tofu is safe to eat? I would love to hear, your medical opinion on that, and if that's something people ask you.
So my philosophy, my opinion, my perspective on tofu and diet is that you shouldn't really restrict yourself to any particular food or any particular regimen. I feel like diets come and go, and they are not necessarily effective for a lot of people. Some people may definitely get results, but not everybody. So my perspective is that you should eat whatever you want, but do it in moderation. And so tofu is one of those things. I don't eat it all the time, but I do enjoy eating it. And I think it's healthy because it's a plant-based food. It has all of the essential amino acids, so it's a complete protein in that sense. It can totally replace meat. Um, and it tastes delicious because you can use it in so many different ways. You can have it as a dessert, you can have it as a side, you can have it as a main dish. So it works for many different types of preparations. And that was kind of how I stumbled across it. And one of the biggest influences for me in terms of focusing on tofu specifically, or Japanese style tofu, is my travels to Japan. So in Japan, if you ever go there, they have tofu specialty restaurants, and all they serve is tofu and soy-based products. So that was a really big inspiration for me to try and bring that back to the US and share with people here.
I would be in heaven. I love tofu. I didn't know it was a complete protein. I guess that makes sense to me now. Is there anything that I should look for in my tofu or avoid when I'm buying it?
If you're buying it, I would recommend organic, right? So organic is the same. That would also mean that it's non-GMO, since those two go together. So if you can do that, I think you're set.
Nice. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your business, because that's really what I want to dive into, help my girlfriends understand that, you know, there's a lot of things that you are really good at doing that I've seen that I think just come really naturally for you. And one of them is taking one piece of content and it looks like you reuse it. So can you talk a little bit about your process? Because you're doing things like Facebook Lives and then it's going to your YouTube. Tell me a little bit about how you're juggling this full-time career as a pharmacist with this online business as you just get started.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, when I first started, so I initially started as a food blog. I was very general. I covered mostly plant-based foods, so I didn't really have too many meat-focused or fish types of recipes on my site. It was mostly grains, a lot of beans, so that type of food. And I didn't have a strategy at that point. And I felt like after a year of doing that, posting pretty regularly, I wasn't getting traction. And so I took a step back to see what it is that I could have changed in terms of getting more results, and also just being more effective and efficient with the content that I produce. And so I listen to a lot of podcasts, I read a lot of blogs, and I don't know who taught me this, but somebody taught me that you should create one piece of content with intent that you'd be able to share it across different platforms. So that's Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram are my primary platforms. And with that approach, you're able to hit each of those audiences that are on each of those platforms, and you can leverage that single piece of content in multiple ways. And so that was one change that I think has helped to contribute to the growth that I've seen over the past 2.5 years since I started. And it's just a smart way to work. You have to do less work in order to get more results, essentially.
So true. Do you have a team yet? Do you have anyone helping you?
I do. So one of the things that I signed up for last year was Business by Design, and that's how you and I met through James Wedmore's program. And one of the things that he's really big on is the less work that you do, the more that you make. And it's totally true. I actually hired a video editor last year. That was one of the first things that I did because that took up so much time for me. In order to edit one video for me, it would take around like 6 to 8 hours for like a 5 to 10 minute video. And that's like so much time that I was wasting when I should be more of behind the scenes and driving, I guess, the vision of the company in terms of where we want to go, how we want to get there, and the strategy versus the day-to-day operational tasks like editing a video, shooting a video. Yes, I have to be in the video, but I don't have to edit it. And then I also hired a virtual assistant to help with my social media. And so she just started a couple weeks ago. So it's been a total time saver. I would say for my editor, he's been working about 10 hours per week since October. And my virtual assistant, I started her at 5 hours per week. And I'm sure I'll increase her hours going forward.
Oh, absolutely. I just like find things to have my virtual assistant help me with. And I just keep adding and adding. And my virtual assistant has hired other virtual assistants for part-time projects when we get overwhelmed. And that's how I do it all. I don't think, I mean, they say like Beyonce only has 24 hours in a day, but you know what? I don't think she does her own hair and makeup. She probably doesn't wash her hair. So I think that you and I mean, we're genetically 99.9% the same as Beyonce. So that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yep. I think so.
That is amazing. I mean, I think more people just need to understand. And I just did this recently where we're putting out a promotion and my team kind of looked at what was some of our best content and where can we use that to drive more sales, drive more traffic, drive more engagement. And we didn't need to come up with something brand new. We just needed to, we have just like you, hours and hours of content already produced. And so just to take something and repurpose it. And I think you're doing this too. You're doing this with, in the online social marketing world, there's a thing called challenges, and people have seen that, right? Where they'll put out maybe a few days where you have a dedicated time where you're trying to get better in one particular area, right? And so now you're calling it a boot camp, but is it still probably about 5 days, 7 days, a short period of time, like a little sprint? Really great free content. Tell me a little bit about how that process has helped you grow your business.
Yeah, so this was something that I tested out last year. I initially started this with my Facebook group. I have a private Facebook group that I created all about Japanese food. And I essentially I did a 5-day cooking challenge initially. And the intent of this 5-day cooking challenge was to basically get people who maybe have a little experience cooking Japanese food or none at all, and to get them up to speed in a 5-day time frame where they can try it out, get results, and eat the food quickly. So it was like sort of an intense kind of training. And so I did 1-hour cooking sessions, video, with my Facebook group, and we got to interact and get to know each other. And they also got to try all of the recipes that we did in that time frame after the fact. And then I also offered a prize as an incentive to make sure that people would take action. So that was my approach, and it's something that I've continued to work with over the past few months to see how I can draw in more people and help them get results by cooking Japanese food at home.
That's awesome. And I mean, they say also that the riches are in the niches. Did you start a little bit more broad and have you niched down to where you are now, or did you start as niche as you are?
No, for my Facebook group, I did start very niche. I was Japanese food only, but when I started my blog 2.5 years ago, like I mentioned, it was more plant-based, and I cooked everything: Indian food, New American food, Italian food. And I think that was one of the things that led to slower growth than what I've seen over the past year.
Yeah, you probably tell me a little bit about your tribe. Like, how has that grown from the niche that you have?
I would say that it's a different audience, right? Because now that it's more focused on Japanese cuisine, not everybody may enjoy it, or maybe they might not know about it because of where they live. For example, there might not be any Japanese restaurants, or they've never been to Japan, so they wouldn't really know what they're missing, or if it's something that would appeal to them if they've never been exposed to it. So I would say for the most part, my audience has some sort of exposure to Japanese food, and I know that most of them either live in California or New York. Those are the two biggest places where my audience lives.
That is, coastal, right? I mean, they do have access to, I always think it's so weird when I travel around the country and I'm served fish in the middle of the country. I'm like,
I know.
I don't get it. Where is this coming from? I live across the street from the ocean, so I know it's fresh, but always kind of creeps me out. But that's why I also try to just eat plant-based wherever I go.
Right.
So, like I said before, I think you're one of the most generous people on social media with your business in terms of the content that you give people, the personal touch and interaction. And I know you and I interacting on Instagram has been a really great experience right there with your audience. But where's your favorite place to hang out, and where can we come and hang out with you and learn more about cooking Japanese and cooking tofu?
Yeah, so tokuyamatraining.com is my website. That's where you can get to know me as well as my free training series. Otherwise, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. All Day I Eat Like a Shark is my handle. That's how you'll find me.
Oh my God, how can you not want to share that everywhere? So fun. And this Pat has been a really just great case study of another practitioner provider just thinking outside the box, that it doesn't have to be related to what you're doing every single day. It can just be your passion projects that you're turning into a business. So do you have any last words of inspiration for my girlfriends who might be feeling the same way you did just a few years ago?
It's going to take time, but if you stick with it, your success is inevitable.
Oh, amazing. That is so true. Wise words. I know it's Japanese, but that almost sounded like an amazing little fortune cookie around here. Combine the Chinese and Japanese cuisine.
That would be a good one in the fortune cookie.
Pat, thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sarah.
Thanks so much for listening. I want to hang out with you more. I truly believe your success is related to the people you spend the most time with. That's why I created the free community, the Girlfriends Group of Health Practitioners. It's a safe space for you to connect with other soul practitioners who don't just want to keep the doors of their practice open, but they want to impact the health of their community. Head over to www.sarah2gender.com and hit the tab at the top that says Group. Go in there and introduce yourself today. I'll see you soon.